Well, good morning, everyone. I am Tim Kernan alongside Mike Freshwater. Thanks for joining us this morning. Mike, how are you doing today?
Doing good, bright and early, brisk morning. I'm feeling great after last night's big win at CJ.
Yeah, I thought the Knights looked really good last night, especially the defense. When there was any sudden change in the game, I thought the defense did really well, and they put the offense in some good positions.
They did great. Back-to-back games, shutout at Fenwick, and holding CJ to 14 points last night, getting an unbelievable goal line stop, and then going 99 yards to score a touchdown might have been the difference in the game. And typical Ultra CJ game. Ultra now leads that series 42-21-1. And, it was a great night, and Ultra moved up in the playoff standings just a little bit, and it looks like they're probably going to play Roger Bacon at home in week one, and off we go.
Yeah, they'll get a home game, and certainly also important, not just to get the victory. And you and I talked a little bit about how there were really no playoff ramifications to it, but they head into the playoffs with some momentum.
Yeah, both teams are going to get in, win or lose, but getting a home game in the first round, maybe the first two rounds, is a big deal. CJ was going to have to go on the road because they lost, but to be able to play at home, and not have to travel very far the first round or two is a big deal, and that's really what you were playing for last night. Beyond possible, Co-G Seal championship and obviously the bragging rights, always a big game, and it was another one last night.
And Mike, I think they're playing their best football right now.
Playing great in all three phases, and can't ask for much more in terms of their momentum that they have right now as they head into the playoffs and hopefully a showdown in the regional finals with an undefeated Clinton Massey. That would be
exciting.
That would be
especially
outstanding
for you and I. But Mike, in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and welcome in our guest today. He has spent 42 years with WHIO. This will be his 41st year calling the Flyer basketball games, and he is right now in his 35th season calling Flyer football games. And he's also the host of the Miami Valley's morning news show, which is on WHIO 1290 AM. So let's go ahead and welcome in Larry Hansgen. Larry, are you there?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, guys.
Larry, I really appreciate you joining us.
This is great.
It is. It's exciting for us, certainly, to have you on. But you are heading into your 41st year calling the Flyer basketball games. That is fantastic. And before we kind of dive into that a little bit, I know for a long time Bucky Bockhorn was your broadcasting partner. I know he is no longer doing it, but how is he doing?
Doing great, Ted. Matter of fact, this week had lunch with him. Former Flyer coach Brian Gregory came through town, and so the three of us got together and had lunch at Kramer's and told some stories, and all is well.
There's some serious stories to be told between the three of you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Larry, there's going to be an exhibition on Sunday, tomorrow. It's raising awareness on adolescent mental health. The tip-off will be at 6 p.m. You are broadcasting that game, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And the proceeds from the exhibition go to Jay's Light Fund, a fund that honors Jada Grant, and will be used to champion adolescent and youth adult mental health. And I think this is absolutely fantastic. It is something that kind of touches me because we've had some mental health issues that have affected my family directly. So really appreciate both schools doing something like this. And is there anything are you involved in this in any way, or?
No, just calling the game. But I think that Tim, you make a good point. I think probably most of the people, if not all the people listening to this podcast, if they look within their own family and circle of friends and within their own heart, they're going to find someone who has been affected by mental illness. And, in my own family, that's perhaps why it touched me as well. And I think Coach Grant, it's amazing what he and his wife have done in the wake of this awful tragedy. amazing, but in some ways it's not surprising. Knowing him as I do, is that and I think he summed it up very well in talking about the game and the forum that they had on Thursday night at the arena. It's giving purpose to the pain, and I can't think of a better way to describe it. And I'll go back to when something you see very trivial now, when a couple years back when the team lost 3 games in a row early to, oh gosh, it was like UMass Lowell and Austin P and Lipscomb, and his demeanor afterwards, he goes, the only thing I know to do is work, and work hard. So that attitude of when life gives you challenges, to step up and do something. And so I think that everyone in the community would be completely understanding if Anthony and Chris, his wife, if they just wanted to say, listen, we don't want to talk about this. We don't ever want to mention it. We don't ever. I think everyone would have been totally fine with that.
Right.
Understand, but that's just not him. That's just not him. He's not going to pull the covers over his head. He's going to shine a light into the corners, and problems, challenges in his world are not to be ignored. They're to be taken on and conquered.
Well, that's very well said, Larry. I really appreciate that. But what a great event. Looking forward to that, and certainly an exciting game. Dayton will take on Ohio State. Just an exhibition, but just a great thing, and I'm so glad they're doing it. But
yeah, Ohio State. I mean, that's like your prime. That would be your prime choice in terms of who you would want to bring in for a game like this. And according to the rules, I think, Larry, if I'm not mistaken, to play a Power 5 Division I opponent in an exhibition game, it has to benefit some kind of a charity. And I think you actually have to solicit approval from the NCAA. And obviously, that went without any trouble.
Yeah. I mean, that's and it. And the university even sent out an email to the season ticket holders and said, okay, it's a game. We're going to play it like a game, keep score. He goes, but asking the fans to be gracious and welcome Ohio State to the arena.
Yeah.
Which you know what? Here's the thing about the fans is that I'm not saying it was unnecessary, but it kind of was, just because the atmosphere will be great, but it'll be a positive atmosphere. And I've had so many fans through the years will come into the arena, especially if they're like I remember Penn State came to the arena for an NIT game. Had the teams come in from the SEC, and the comment that they will make afterwards is they go, or the ACC, and they'll say, "Wow, your fans are great." He goes, they'll say they're so positive, because in the ACC, SEC, Big Ten, even a fan feels like they show up not to support their team, but to some way to demonize the opposing team. And it can get ugly at times, and I've never seen things get ugly for an opponent at the arena. In fact, Dayton's got a player this year that one of the transfers, one of the new guys, I think he's largely here because of Dayton fans.
Oh, really? Great.
He came here as an opposing player for Robert Morris last year, and he said just the way, and he says, boy, the fans were on me in warm-ups, and the student body was riding him and everything. But he says, what a cool place to play. To be, man, if I was on the other side wearing the other uniform, how cool would that be?
Yeah, that's great.
So, Dayton fans, Dayton fans are the best.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be there in the first row, right behind Coach Grant. I don't know if you know this or not, Larry, but I coach basketball at Alder, and Ricardo Greer's son, RJ, has transferred to Alder, and I'm going to be down there front and center, and right behind Anthony and Ricardo. Ricardo's a great coach. I'm a great person. I've gotten to know him over the past several months, and what a great guy he is.
Yeah, and if your listeners haven't done it, they need to watch the Building the Foundation docuseries. It's on YouTube.
Right.
Okay.
And there's 4 parts. 3 parts have already dropped, as they say. The first being really kind of introduces this year's roster and talks about Deron Holmes' decision to come back and not stay in the draft. The second one was about community. I'm in that a lot because it's about what Dayton basketball means to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And the third details the what Malachi Smith and Kobe Brea and Kobe Elvis went through last year injury-wise and how they got back. And then the fourth one, which will drop on Monday, will be all about the European trip. But I really encourage the fans to watch that. It gives you some great insight of the team. And next time I see Ricardo, which will be tomorrow, I'm gonna bring up about something he talks about, how he tells recruits that if they entrust UD with their son, that it's not just going to be the basketball program, it's not going to be just the university, but it's going to be the entire community that will look out for him and take care of that son.
That's fantastic.
And I'm going to remind him of that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, RJ's getting a lot of attention. We've had a lot of several D1 Power 5 coaches in our gym over the summer and early this fall, and he's a player. He's going to be a good one. He could probably help UD down the road sooner or later.
Yes.
And
well, I'm going to work on his dad.
Okay.
Larry, you kind of veered into it a little bit, but I wanted to get your opinion on the whole NIL situation and how it's changed college athletics. What are your feelings about NIL and where this is all headed?
Well, I think hopefully it will head to the pendulum being somewhere in the middle, because the days of a guy's jersey being on sale in the campus bookstore and he doesn't get a dime for it, I mean, that was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, but now the reaction to that, I think, has gone too far in some cases, because there's no rules.
Right.
There's no rules.
No,
there's the only rule that I'm really aware of is that you cannot tie. Well, there's 2 things. The university can't give the kids any money. It has to come from a third party. The other rule is that it can't be tied to performance. You can't approach a Deron Holmes and say, "I'll give you $100 for every dunk."
Right.
But I can give him $100,000 to take a picture with me.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So, I guess the examples that make us, feel uncomfortable, although it's an example of how NIL can work, is that you have Miami Hurricanes go to the Final Four last year, essentially purchasing a roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They got the kid that transferred from Kansas State, that he came in and it was publicized that he was going to get $400,000 from the Wallace Hub guy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, and then Isaiah Wong, who's on the roster, he says, "Well, I'm leaving unless I get at least that."
Right.
And so obviously he stayed. So he got, they met his demand. And what did that result? Well, it resulted in a trip to the Final Four. So, if you're a program around the country,
Right.
You're looking like, okay, well, I guess that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
Sure works. Now, obviously, I'm incredibly biased. So, with that being a caveat, I think the way, and I'm not aware of how a lot of programs are handling NIL, but I am aware how UD's doing it. And I think if there is a right way and a common sense way, I am seeing that where, they've got the collective, the Dayton Sixth Collective, whereby every member of the men's and women's basketball teams are getting something.
Okay.
It's almost like a monthly, stipend, if
Yeah.
you will. And in exchange for that, because there has to be some quid pro quo, the thing about NIL, there has to be something in exchange for the money. But it could be as simple as posing for a picture.
Right.
But what the Flyer student athletes are doing, to receive that stipend, if you will, they'll show up at whether one of the collective sponsors, businesses or whatever, they'll show up and they will, there'll be an autograph signing session where the public gets those autographs for free, where people can come in and, kids can come in and get their pictures taken. It costs them nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like the Pete Rose, I'm going to stand, behind a card table in Cooperstown and I'm going to charge you, $50 for my signature. No, it's, all that's free. And then also they'll send them out to nonprofits, to schools, and to churches and youth organizations to do clinics and things like that. You've got Duran and a member of the women's team that are a part of a campaign to improve attendance in schools, things like that. And then the other aspect is letting the marketplace dictate. Okay. Brady Ewell, God bless him, Alter grad, great kid, has been a wonderful addition to this basketball team. A car dealer is not going to want to give Brady Ewell a brand new vehicle and six figures in income. Okay.
Yeah.
But they will want to get that to Duran.
Right.
Okay. Because a commercial with Duran Holmes in it has some value in this marketplace. Yeah. So you let the marketplace, dictate. Is it perfect? No. And then the other piece that I'm seeing at UD that I hope other schools are doing is they're using this as an opportunity to have, for lack of a better term, classes for the guys. Okay, here's what taxes are all about.
Yeah, that's great.
Here's how, this money's coming in gross. You need to set aside X amount because you're going to have to pay taxes. Here's how you need to have a budget. Here's how you need to manage your money.
That's great.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, I think for the pendulum to swing a little bit more towards the middle, there's going to need to be rules, and I don't. That's obviously not going to come from the NCAA. And given how,
you know what,
go ahead.
Yeah, how do you put the toothpaste back in the tooth?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I agree. And can we expect to get anything out of our government when they can't even do the normal work up there? So I don't know. I feel like there has to be something that just does a little bit more to spread the love, because I think sooner or later, just like you mentioned, teams are going to ultimately buy into purchasing whole teams, almost players, and you're going to see the same eight. Not that you don't already see. Well, you don't always see the same 8 to 12 teams at the end of the tournament, but you're going to start seeing that thing start to happen a little bit more if there isn't some rules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the first thing to do is to have it be uniform state to state.
Yeah.
It can't, because that affects a competitive edge.
Right.
If you're in a state where your state legislature is not allowing NIL, then that puts you at a disadvantage when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And guess what? Some of these states, especially like Kentucky, where basketball rules, they may not want to comply with something like that, right? If they've got a way to keep an edge over everybody else. But
they still got Federal Express. I mean, they've been using that for years.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Larry, I also wanted to ask you, I'm going to kind of change the subject here, but when I grew up, huge UD basketball fan, and Xavier was always the huge rivalry, of course, because Dayton played in several conferences with them. But kids that are 8, 9, and 10 years old right now, they really don't have any idea what that rivalry was like. I mean, the games at UD Arena were so unbelievably intense. It was incredible. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, and will we ever play Xavier again? Will they ever get them back on the schedule, or is that been kicked down the road?
I think that the possibility of those games has really become increasingly less possible due to most of the conferences going to 20-game schedules. You go to a 20-game conference schedule, then you play an exempt event that'll be 3 games, and all of a sudden you have 6 to 7 games discretionary schedule. And so it's really going to be difficult for stuff like that. But there was a time. And I've been around long enough that I can remember a time when a Xavier game was no big deal.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I mean, so the fact that there was a period of Dayton basketball in which Xavier was a big rival. It's not like it's been time immemorial. I mean, they had a pretty good go in the late 50s, and then really it wasn't until the late 80s, 90s,
That's true.
and then and then once Dayton got in the A10, it became a thing again. But I'm here to tell you, because everyone asks the question, okay, well, who is Dayton's rival? Who is Dayton's rival? Right now,
VCU, maybe.
I don't know if Dayton has a rival, but Dayton is everyone else's rival.
Right.
I mean, I go on the road and I mean, I've seen so many blackouts and whiteouts and redouts and blue outs, and it's everyone's big game.
Yeah.
If you go to St. Louis, who's your rival? Well, it's Dayton. You go to VCU, who's your rival? Well, it's Dayton, but also Richmond. But Dayton is everybody's big game. It's everybody's big game, and what I'm here to tell you, what the reason why is? It's jealousy. A lot of it's jealousy. Dayton has this wonderful facility, has this tremendous following, does everything in a first-class way, and they got a lot of programs in the A10 that are, I think, absolutely jealous of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you get the first 4 there every year, and that's a tremendous exposure for the facility, for the Flyers program, for UD. People see all of that and think UD's sitting atop of the mountain, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you bring out the best in everybody you play, you're just going to get better, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that UD has used this bully pulpit, if you will, to try to hold the other schools in the A10's feet to the fire, saying, "Come on, man, you got to step up. You got to invest in your facilities. You need to take a look at how you're traveling. You need to take a look at what resources you have for your athletes, and do they have is there a strength and conditioning coach, and is there a nutritionist? Do they have academic support? All these types of things, and that's it's not about." And that's why if you look like national pundits and stuff, sometimes you'll see articles where, well, let's rank the mid-majors and, who's the best mid-major teams. Now all of a sudden, Dayton's not on that list anymore. And it's not because they don't think they're a good basketball team. They're thinking, no, with the facilities and the support, this is not a mid-major program.
Right.
This is a major program. No one calls Gonzaga a mid-major program anymore, do they?
No, and I think, in fact, they're much smaller than Dayton, aren't they, as far as that college?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And the league they play in it's a good league.
Yeah.
It's probably, it would depend on what given year. It's maybe either a notch above or a notch below the Atlantic 10, depending on what year it is.
Yeah.
So, to folks that say, "Oh, Dayton's got to get in a different league. Dayton's got to get in a different league." Yeah, I haven't met anyone yet. I've never seen a school yet that succeeded based upon what league they were in.
Yeah. No, that's true. Although it is exciting when we do get to match up against another regional team.
I mean, it's for a season ticket holder. If you put Dayton in the Big Ten, well, they would be like, the season ticket holders would be great because look at that. You look at your home game.
Yeah, right.
You're playing.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that the success. And even teams. You look at a team like Butler that is now playing in the Big East after beginning in what was the old MCC, and then became the Horizon League. And they went from there. to the A10 for a cup of coffee and then on to the Big East. But they were successful first. Right. They were successful. They went to 2 Final Fours. They went to 2 championship games. They were successful, and then they went to a different league.
Yeah.
The different league didn't catapult their success.
No. Right.
That's right.
And speaking of UD Arena, we're all biased, of course, but it's the premier basketball arena, I believe, in the nation. But Larry, what are some of your favorite other road locations that you've gone to and called games at?
Well, I'm big into atmosphere. So like a game day atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then like in the A10, you got a great game day atmosphere at VCU. St. Bonaventure. I mean, it's hard to get there. And once you get there, the town itself. But you know what? You get inside that gym and it's a great college basketball atmosphere there at St. Bonaventure. St. Louis, the same way. They've got a great game day atmosphere. Yeah. And it's, but I'm just trying to think around the country because I'll tell you what, instead I'll answer the question differently. The absolute worst place I have ever broadcast, okay? Worst place ever. And granted, I go to Tom Gola Arena every other year in Philadelphia, okay? Yeah. But the worst place I have ever broadcast, ever, Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke.
Been there.
Really?
It is small. I've been there, Larry. And you guys sit way the heck up top in the rafters, right?
You have to climb a ladder
oh my goodness.
Into a cage that is suspended from the ceiling.
Right. That's right.
There's chicken wire surrounding you because if you drop a pen or something without the chicken wire, it would fall into the fans below. They put bottles of water and cans of soda in a bucket and haul it up to you with a rope.
Oh, my Lord.
Can't make that up.
That is hilarious.
Now, I don't know. So that's how you take fluids in. Eliminating fluids, I don't think they've addressed that situation.
The answer to that, having experienced that a little bit myself, the answer is that you don't consume the liquids.
Yes. You can't sit up straight because there's pipes above you, so you have to spend the entire broadcast hunched over.
It is insane to think. And if you told me that was if you told me that was Tom Gola Arena, it wouldn't be so amazing or so funny. But the fact that it's Duke and Cameron Indoor Stadium, you can't make that up, right?
Yeah. Tom in Tom Gola Arena, they're gonna remodel it, which. That'll be like putting lipstick on a pig.
It looks like a high school gym on TV.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Well, you're doing a disservice to high schools.
Larry, just a couple more before we let you go. But what do you think are the reasonable expectations for this UD team this year? A lot of new faces.
Well, I think first of all, I think the reasonable expectation is to win the Atlantic 10. First and foremost, they are. Really a prohibitive favorite. I hate to use that word, but that's just the reality. Is that on paper? And granted, that's just on paper. They're the best team in the A10 when it comes in terms of the talent that they've got, and also kind of based upon what other schools in the league have lost.
Right.
I think that what makes expectations what will keep expectations on the positive, lofty side this year is the fact that this is the deepest roster I have seen, in 7 years, in Coach Grant's 7 years. Closest thing to it would be the 1920 year, which obviously that was a great season, going 29-2. But even that year, I think a lot of folks can recall that Jordy Chimanga was a backup center. He wasn't really available until February, so They weren't really at full strength. It wasn't like they began day one at full strength and they were good to go the whole way. I mean, they weren't even full strength in preseason workouts because Rodney Chapman had broken his orbital bone, and so they kind of limped into the season and then got healthier as the year went on. That was the closest thing as far as depth. I mean, right now, they've got 5 veteran players in the program that know the program and have played a lot of minutes in a Dayton basketball uniform. They have added 4 players guys who have played a lot of college basketball. They've got Nate Santos who transferred in from Pitt. They've got Enoch Cheeks, who transferred in from Robert Morris. Javon Bennett, who came from Merrimack, and you're saying, oh, goodness, Merrimack. He's only 5'9". He's more like 5'7". Yeah, his freshman of the year in that league, he was second in the nation in steals.
Yeah,
okay?
That's big.
And that doesn't, your opponent, your level of competition, the league you're in, doesn't affect your ability to do that.
Yeah.
And then they've got Isaac Jack, who's a big man. Big man. You know what? What they say, quick guys get tired, big guys never shrink. And
He's big.
There's a viable backup to Deuce or to even play alongside him. So, and then the freshmen, hey, the freshmen are gravy. If they get something out of one of the 3 freshmen they've got, great.
Right.
But they're not they're not sitting there saying we need to get 10 minutes a game out of a freshman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that being the case, I think that there's some depth there, and particularly in the guard spot, because gosh knows we learned last year.
Oh yeah.
You can't have too many guards.
Yeah, they couldn't even practice last year. I mean, they couldn't even go 5-on-5 hardly last year, right? Because of some of those injuries.
No.
Yeah.
No, they really couldn't.
How I'm going to ask an obvious question, but maybe you can quantify it. How important is Deron Holmes to all of that? Now, had he not stayed at Dayton, right, where would they be?
I was thinking in my brain, on May 30th, Dayton would be like maybe anywhere between third and fifth in the A10, projecting them.
Mm-hmm.
And May 31st, they were prohibitive favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Final one for me, Larry. With all the conference realignment, is the A10 on solid footing, do you think?
I think so. I'd like to see it. You're seeing so many conferences go the other way, where they're becoming, the mega conferences with, I don't know. I don't know how many schools will be in the Big Ten next year. I really don't, but it's not 10.
Does? Right.
I know it's not 10.
Yeah, it's not going to be 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would be more favored, and I'm not an administrator, and I'm probably in the minority of this opinion. I'd be in favor of the A10 contracting instead of expanding. I think some of the schools in the league that where basketball doesn't matter as much as it does in Dayton,
right,
as it does in St. Louis, as it does at VCU, as it does at St. Bonaventure. If you have places where basketball doesn't matter as much,
Yeah.
get them out of there, because they're dragging the rest of the league down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the A10 is one of the few leagues that hasn't had big changes recently in terms of conference realignment. I can't even think of who was the last team to come in or leave.
The last team that left, that would have been when Xavier and Butler left for the Big East.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Unbelievable.
And
Davidson, were they the last ones to join it?
I think they might have been Davidson might have been either Davidson or George Mason might have been the most recent addition. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Larry, I really enjoyed this conversation. Really appreciate you jumping on with us today. We'd love
Tim,
to have you back.
I want you to know, and you may already know this, Larry is a Cleveland Browns fan.
I know.
Okay, we're not going to hold that again. I am too, Larry. So I love the show on Sunday.
Okay,
And,
thanks.
Yeah, you guys do a great job with that, and I watch it every week, and I'm right behind you there in terms of some of your hopes and some of your frustrations, or you've done a nice job of masking some of your disappointments over the past couple of years on TV.
If you are a Cleveland Browns fan, you learn to deal with disappointment very early on in your life.
Hey, last Sunday, I literally said, no way they're winning this game. I sat at the table.
No.
I didn't even get up until the very end because I thought for sure something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. At the end to prevent the Browns from winning, and just the opposite did. And that was shocking.
Yeah, I'm still pinching myself.
Well, Larry, good luck today, and good luck with the season. Again, we'd love to have you back if you'd be interested, but really enjoyed this conversation.
Okay, my pleasure, guys.
Thanks,
All
Larry.
right, have a great day.
All right, bye.
And folks, that was Larry Hansgen, the voice of the Dayton Flyers. And Mike, I really enjoyed that conversation.
Well, Larry's been around a long time. I think he's about my age.
He has been around a long time.
He's old. He may not be quite as old as me, but he's getting there. He's great to talk to. I hear him in the morning when I get up to go cut grass, and I see him on Sunday, and of course catch a few of the Flyer football games here and there on the radio, and then obviously basketball games on the radio when I'm listening to him. He's great. He's been around a long time, and one of the things I wanted to ask him, we didn't get around to doing it, and that was, how do you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day and keep on any kind of a decent schedule? But because I'm thinking that's how soon he's got to get up to be in there and be ready to go in the morning for the morning show. But he's a great guy, man, well spoken. He came to the Agonis Club a while back and talked and did a great job, answered all the questions really well, and there's no better proponent of UD out there spreading the good news about the Flyers than Larry. Well, you would think he was an employee of Dayton and not WHIO, which is great.
Well, and I have to mention this, I'd be remiss if I didn't, but he was very helpful to me, Mike, when I started getting into the broadcasting piece. I reached out to him. I actually took some online classes about broadcasting, and part of what I had to do during the class was interview someone who was in the business. I interviewed Larry. He was very gracious, and he's been very helpful.
He's a great guy.
And he was really quick to say yes, that he would jump on the show with us today.
Awesome.
So, Larry, again, really appreciate not just today, but all your help, and for all that Mike just said it, for all that you do for the University of Dayton. You do a great job, and love hearing you on the radio. Yep. So looking forward to that. Mike, you and I have a lot to do today, but we're going to do a few things quick here. Going to be kind of a quick show, but I wanted to ask you real quick about Jim Harbaugh and what's going on with Michigan. But, it's kind of funny, but I sit here and I think, geez, what is Michigan doing? But are they really doing anything that's a whole lot different than what other teams do? And again, I don't know.
There's a rule that's been in place for, I think, around 30 years where you cannot, or anybody representing you cannot go to a game for a future opponent and actually scout live in the games. Don't ask me why. I don't, but that's a rule, and it has been in place for quite a long time.
So that's what they're being.
And evidently, they've dismissed or temporarily suspended the guy that was doing all of that. The NCAA, he wiped his social media accounts clean. The NCAA has confiscated his computer, and so a lot more to come on that one. But it doesn't sound good. But and what's a little bit befuddling is and unless he's being 100% honest, and we already know he didn't cooperate with the NCAA on the earlier investigation, as Harbaugh has come out publicly and quickly and said he had no knowledge of what was going on. So that's a little bit. Yeah, that is a little bit questionable. And if that's not true, if he's lying to the NCAA and the public about that, and they can prove it, that's big trouble. That's a problem. And so we'll see. NCAA moves really, really slow. This investigation won't happen.
Not till next year.
It won't be something that they announce the results of until after the season, I'm sure. But they've been put on alert, the University of Michigan, and as has the rest of the league, that this is something that they were doing, and most likely they're going to now have to stop. And it can make a difference. I mean, it's not illegal during the game when you're playing somebody online real time to steal signs. I mean, that's been going on forever, and people still do it. But to have it ahead of time and be able to prepare for it, evidently this guy who did this is a Navy veteran who they hired as a special consultant, brought him on for $55,000 a year, stood right next to Jim Harbaugh and the defensive coordinator, somebody representing the defense, down on the field. And they said there's video that's showing him actually signing into the defensive guys, most likely relating to them what he thinks the offense is calling from the sideline. So there's something to it. We'll see how serious it really is, and if this isn't the final thing that drives Harbaugh out of the Big Ten and into the NFL.
Well, was it you who sent me the meme of the picture that he had night vision goggles on or something?
All kinds of goggles
That
and
was
telescopes and everything else. But he's such an easy target.
That was so funny.
It's not something that'll result in any kind of an announcement or any potential violations or penalties until after the season, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That will take a while to get through that one. But
Yep.
Might go through our Notre Dame and Ohio State
Yeah.
update. Notre Dame had a huge victory over USC last weekend. Really kind of dominated, but I think it was more on the defensive side that they dominated. They really held Caleb Williams in check. He had a couple interceptions, and the Notre Dame defense just really controlled that ball game. Sitting as a Notre Dame fan here, I think the offensive still is a little vanilla. They got to figure out a way of making that a little bit more potent, if you will. But boy, Marcus Freeman really needed that victory, and he got it. It was they played their fourth straight undefeated opponent. They went 2-4 over that stretch right there. Or 2-2, excuse me, that difficult stretch of the schedule. But they would certainly love to be in a position where they had maybe one less loss. But it is what it is. But they got the big victory over USC, and they got the much needed bye this week.
Yeah, that seems to soothe things just a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, and especially the way they beat USC, who was just a pretender. In terms of them being talked about and making a run at the national championship, and maybe Caleb Williams might not be the quarterback that everybody was putting him up to be. It wasn't so much his fault. I mean, he didn't play that badly or poorly. I think he's still a potential top number one draft quarterback, but I think it takes him out of the Heisman race and elevates a couple other guys. Like Drake May and the guy Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the odds in DraftKings, I think they're now a little bit ahead of Caleb Williams in terms of the odds to win a Heisman Trophy. But it helps to smooth the waters just a little bit for Notre Dame, and the bye week comes at a really good time for them, and hopefully they can have that momentum heading into the last several games of the season and run the table.
Yeah. And, of course, we have a huge game today between Ohio State and Penn State. Ohio State number 3, Penn State number 7. That's a 12 o'clock game, which is kind of surprising to me. I'm surprised they didn't move that one.
It's weird.
To prime time. But, I have to, off the top, again, I don't follow Ohio State, obviously, as closely as you do, but has Penn State ever won one of these games? Ohio State wins this game every time.
I saw a stat, James Franklin's stat. I don't know if it was top 5 or top 10. It had to be most likely top 5. He's like 1-10 against real highly ranked opponents. He does not have a great record, nor has he had a lot of success playing in the big games. And this is certainly one of them. Maybe the biggest game. It's for sure the biggest game of the day. One of the biggest games of the season, especially depending the outcome. But they have not had a lot of success against Ohio State, and being in Columbus, makes it even harder for them. But I don't know. I think this might be. I hate to say it, but I think this might be the game where he turns the tables just a little bit. Penn State's really, really good. Really, a lot of balance, a lot of depth. Really good defensively. I'll talk about it later on, but their game against UMass, although it was UMass, their defense was ridiculously dominant. And I think this is going to be most likely a low-scoring, tough, tight defensive game today over there in Columbus. What a beautiful day for that game. It's going to be 58 and sunny, I think, at kickoff.
Perfect football
It's
weather.
perfect football weather. And, I'm going to hold my breath because I think I know the Buckeyes are a little bit of a betting favorite, but that's mostly because they're at home. I think that Penn State has every chance, if they don't make big mistakes or any big mistakes at all for sure, they got a chance of winning. And so I'm going to be, I think, like everybody else, on the edge of our seats watching that game today.
Well, I think it's a great test for Ohio State. Certainly, we'll see where they really stand. I think it's a great day, great game. They, of course, earlier in the season went on the road and beat Notre Dame. That was a great test. They passed that one. So yeah, they got a big game against Penn State tonight, and I think we'll find out a lot more about Ohio State.
Somebody texted me last night about it, and I didn't have time last night, and I'm going to do it today. Try to find out the health status of the 3 running backs, all of whom were out last week when that game was said and done. They need those guys. Yeah. Travion Henderson would be really nice to have him back. It feels like forever since he's played. He could be a difference maker for them. And the other 2 guys that back him up that come in, the big dude, former linebacker from Arizona State who scored that winning touchdown against Notre Dame. He's been hurt. Will he be back? Chip train him. I don't know. They need him. They need him today, and I'm hoping 2, if not all 3 of them are available.
Absolutely. That will certainly be interesting, and a lot of eyes will be on that game without doubt. Yeah, it's a huge
game. I think everybody's over in Columbus today. It's going to be a big game.
Mike, going over the numbers from last week, you were 1-4 in the pros.
Oh my goodness.
I was 4-1, which is unbelievable. I usually super stink in the pros. You were 3-1 in college, and I was 3-1 in college. So that leaves you at 10-12 in the pros. I'm at 14-8.
Wow.
You are 11-8 in college, and I'm at 10-9 in college.
Oh man, it's close.
Yeah, it's tightening up, isn't it?
You can toss a coin and probably do better than what I'm picking.
So I picked out the 4 games of interest for college for this week for the 2 of us. Michigan at Michigan State. I think Michigan's going to roll. Although it's minus 24.5.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, if we're just picking winner here, are we just picking winner?
No, we're going to go with the points.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of points in that game. 24.5. Boy, I'll take the underdog in that game. Michigan State to cover that spread. That's a lot of points in that game.
Just for interest purposes, I'm going to go with Michigan.
Yeah.
Just because, just to make it exciting. So you'll go with Michigan State. I'll go with Michigan. Of course, we're going to go with the Ohio State versus Penn State. That one is OSU minus 4.5.
I bet against the Browns last week and got screwed there a little bit. Although I was happy to pay that one off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to say Ohio State wins by 6. So I'll take the Buckeyes minus the points in that one, and they win by 6. Something like 27-21, something like that. I think will be the final there. But man, I'm not 100% confident about it. I can tell you that.
I'm going to go with Ohio State, and I think Ohio State's going to win easily. I don't know. Penn State is probably a very good team. They're welcome to prove me wrong, but Penn State never wins this type of game. All right, the next one in the college level, we're going to go with Alabama versus Tennessee. Alabama minus 9.5.
Yeah, man. I like Alabama and how they're playing now, and that's a big spread, and again, in a big SEC game. But I think in this case, and I'm going to take the favorite in Alabama, wins by 10 or more. Tennessee, I've, again, taken them once or twice already this year and got burnt. So,
all right, I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Roll Tide.
I'm going to go with Tennessee on that one. I think they're going to at least cover. I think they're going to keep it close.
Don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide.
There you go. And final one at the college level, number 14 Utah at number 18 Southern Cal. USC is favored by 6.5.
Yeah, Utah's not bad, right? I mean, but USC coming off that loss against Notre Dame got to be a little bit sore. I'm assuming they had some pretty good practices this week and talked a lot about what it was going to take to bounce back. And will they cover? I don't know. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think Caleb Williams and the boys do bounce back and win by double digits.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Southern Cal on that one as well. Mike will go quickly to professional games of interest. Falcons at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are favored by 2.5.
Yeah, it took Baker and the boys last week and got burnt there, but Falcons are not very good.
They're reeling a little
And
bit.
the quarterback from UC, Ritter, is struggling. So going to stick with Baker and Buccaneers. I think they might bounce back. They had a tough one last week against the Lions and maybe Tampa Bay, although I don't think they're as good as their record right now. But Atlanta's just awful, and I think Tampa Bay probably goes ahead and wins that one and covers.
I'll go with Tampa on that one as well. Lions at Ravens. This one's interesting.
I know,
Minus
man.
2.5.
That is my second
Ravens.
favorite game of the weekend, mostly because I just like rooting against Baltimore,
Right.
you know, and I like the Lions. I mean, I've mentioned this, I think, before on this podcast, but a Super Bowl of where Detroit and Cleveland play would be absolutely historic.
Yeah.
If either one of those teams can make that happen. But I like Detroit. Love the coach. They look really, really good, man. And they're not talking. I mean, they're getting a little bit of more talk during the week from the national sports talk guys and shows on the radio and on TV. But I don't think they're getting as much as they deserve. I think they're really, really good. And I hope to God they beat Baltimore. What's the point spread in that?
Minus 2.5.
Yeah, where's it at in
Ravens.
Detroit?
It's at Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh boy. I'll take the Lions in the points and either hope they win or it's a 1 or 2 point game somehow or another. I just like Detroit too much.
I'm gonna go with the Lions too, just because I want them to win.
No kidding, man. I'm gonna sit there and root hard against Baltimore. Hopefully it's on TV here.
Two more, Mike. Dolphins at Eagles. Eagles minus 2.5.
Yeah. Eagles have been kind of squeaking out games this year, haven't they? And I think, to say that they've struggled a little bit is probably fair. The Dolphins, where's that game?
At the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm going to take Philly at home. Did you say 2.5 again on that, or three?
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5.
Minus 2.5.
Yeah. Dolphins are good. Their offense is fantastic. They got a lot of weapons, but Philly at home and the cover.
Yeah, I think Philly's is a little upset about last week.
Just go making sure you go back and bet against all of my picks. I was
Right.
I was 1-4 last week, so you could have made a lot of money had you done that.
And the final one in the pros for us, Mike, Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs are minus 5.5.
Yeah, I think the Chargers played decent the other night. They're a little bit on the hot seat right now, especially the coach. I thought they played well enough to win. They're getting guys back. Chiefs are not dominating people. They're not blowing anybody out. I'm going to go the Chargers to cover. They might lose, but I think they cover that spread. So I'm going to take the Chargers.
And I'll go with the Chiefs. Hopefully
Joe
just
Tooney
to be
doesn't
fun.
hear me say that, but I think the Chiefs are. It's a good chance they're going to win, but I think that the Chargers cover the spread.
All right, Mike, and before we wrap up the show, let's do helmet stickers real quick.
Yeah.
I got my helmet sticker, and again, everybody's going to think I'm a homer, but
No,
I'm going to
they're
go.
not.
I'm going to go with Xavier Watts of Notre Dame. He was absolutely fantastic against USC. He was all over the field. He was the Lot Impact Player of the Week. He had 7 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and a scoop and a score, and he had a pass breakup. So he just had a phenomenal game for the Irish against USC last Saturday night. So helmet sticker, Xavier Watts.
Yeah, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to give my helmet sticker to a unit, and I'm going to try to reverse jinx them. And so I'm going to give my helmet sticker to the Penn State defense last week against UMass. Let me see if I have that right here. They gave up like 109 total yards, 45 passing and 64 rushing against obviously a very undermanned UMass. But UMass had the ball for 32 minutes to Penn State's 27, which is amazing. I'm not sure how that's even possible. But Penn State's defense was tremendous, and I'm going to try to jinx them by giving them a helmet sticker today and hope that they fall off the face of the earth today at noon. But yeah, Penn State's defense is for real, and I think they could be the difference in the game today against Ohio State. But my helmet sticker goes to that whole position group or all those defensive guys.
Well, that's fantastic. Certainly, that is the spotlight game of the day. You would think, Mike.
Yeah,
So-
and I'm gonna email them so they heard that I did
Okay.
that. And, you know, send them a link to the podcast. Listen
Yeah.
to the last listen to the last 2 minutes of this, guys. I'm sure it'll make a big deal. It's a big deal for them.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us today. I want to send a big thank you out to Larry Hansgen as well for joining us. Great show. Do us a favor on the way out. Would you please like the video and subscribe to our channel? We'd certainly appreciate it. Appreciate it if you would. And have a great Saturday. Enjoy the football. And we'll see you next Saturday on Gamecast Radio Sports Talk.
That's it. We'll say goodbye to everybody and see you next weekend.